April 16, 1945, 0923 hours, 12 miles northeast of Leipzig, Germany. Lieutenant Robert Johnson drops his P-47 Thunderbolt to 15 feet above the ground. The propeller kicks up dirt. Trees blur past his wingtips. His airspeed indicator shows 400 miles per hour. Through the canopy, half a mile ahead, he sees it. Rows of German fighters, lined up wing to wing on a grass airfield. Messerschmitt 109s, Focke-Wulf 190As, maybe 24 aircraft, sitting ducks. His thumb moves to the gun trigger. 850 caliber machine guns, 3,000 rounds, 60 seconds to target. This is what they call a turkey shoot. But the Germans are waiting. Flak towers ring the field. Quad 20mm cannons swing toward him. Tracers arc into the sky. Johnson doesn't pull up. He pushes the throttle forward. The Pratt & Whitney engine roars. The P-47 shudders. 15 feet, 410 miles per hour, 8 guns hot. 1 minute to change the war in the air over Germany. By April 1945, the Luftwaffe is dying, but not in the air, on the ground. American fighter pilots have discovered something more effective than dogfighting. They call it strafing, flying low, shooting parked aircraft, destroying the enemy before he can take off. The math is brutal. One P-47 costs $75,000. One strafing pass can destroy 20 German fighters worth $3 million in 60 seconds. But the cost in American lives is staggering. Strafing is the most dangerous mission in the European theater. Pilots fly at treetop level. Flak gunners have point-blank shots. One hit kills. The 8th Air Force loses more pilots to ground fire during strafing runs than to enemy fighters in the entire month of April. Yet they keep doing it, because it works. Lieutenant Robert Johnson is about to prove why. 1 aircraft, 1 pass, 23 kills. The Germans will write about this day in their post-war memoirs. They will call it the day the sky fell. Robert Johnson is 23 years old, from Lincoln, Nebraska. He enlisted in 1942, trained at Thunderbird Field in Arizona, graduated top of his class. By April 1945, he has flown 87 combat missions, shot down 3 German fighters in aerial combat, survived 2 emergency landings, but he has never strafed an airfield. His squadron commander, Major William Clark, selected him for this mission 3 hours ago. The briefing was simple. Intelligence reports a hidden Luftwaffe field northeast of Leipzig, camouflaged, heavily defended, packed with fighters. Clark's orders: find it, destroy it, come home. Johnson took off at 0815 hours, solo. Strafing missions work better alone. 1 aircraft is harder to spot, faster, more maneuverable. He flew low the entire way, 50 feet above the deck, following rivers and valleys, staying below German radar. Now he is here, and the field is exactly where intelligence said it would be. 24 German fighters, wings full of fuel, armed with ammunition, ready for combat. Not anymore. The P-47 Thunderbolt is not designed for strafing. It is designed for high-altitude bomber escort. Big, heavy, 7 tons fully loaded. But American pilots have turned it into a ground attack monster. 8 Browning M2 50 caliber machine guns, 4 in each wing. Each gun fires 800 rounds per minute. Combined rate of fire, 6,400 rounds per minute. 100 bullets every second. Each bullet weighs 1.6 ounces, travels at 2,900 feet per second, can penetrate half an inch of armor plate at 500 yards. Against parked aircraft with aluminum skin, it is overkill. The ammunition is mixed: ball, armor-piercing, incendiary, tracer. The incendiary rounds contain magnesium. They burn at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to ignite aviation fuel on contact. Johnson's P-47 carries 3,000 rounds, enough for 22 seconds of continuous fire. He will not need 22 seconds. The math is simple. 24 aircraft, 3,000 rounds. That is 125 bullets per target, more than enough. At 0924 hours, Johnson is 4,000 feet from the airfield, still at 15 feet altitude, still at 400 miles per hour. He can see the details now. The German fighters are parked in 3 rows, 8 aircraft per row. Nose-to-tail spacing may be 50 feet. The grass is wet from morning dew. The sun reflects off canopies. German ground crew are visible, running, pointing, shouting. Flak towers open fire. Quad 20mm cannons. 4 barrels per tower. 6 towers ringing the field. The sky fills with tracers, red lines arcing toward him. Each tracer represents 4 non-tracer rounds. Johnson ignores them. He focuses on the first row of fighters. 8 Messerschmitt 109s, black crosses on yellow noses. His thumb rests on the trigger. Not yet. Too far. 3,000 feet. His propeller is a blur. The engine screams. The airframe shakes. 2,000 feet. He can see individual rivets on the German fuselages. 1,000 feet. He squeezes the trigger. All 8 guns fire. The sound is apocalyptic. 8 machine guns firing simultaneously create a noise like tearing metal. The vibration shakes the entire aircraft. Spent brass casings spray from ejection ports. They hit the fuselage with metallic pings. Tracers leap from Johnson's wings, red streaks converging on the first Messerschmitt. The 50 caliber rounds hit the engine cowling. Sparks spray. Metal peels back like paper. Then the incendiary rounds ignite the fuel. The Messerschmitt explodes. Not a small fire, a massive fireball. Orange and black. The blast wave lifts the fighter off the ground, tosses it sideways. It slams into the second Messerschmitt. Now 2 aircraft are burning. Johnson does not stop firing. He walks his tracers across the line. 3rd Messerschmitt, 4th, 5th. Each one erupts in flames within seconds. The noise is constant. Gunfire, explosions, shrapnel hitting his fuselage. He is still at 15 feet, still at 400 miles per hour. He covers 1,000 feet per second. 5 seconds of firing. 5 aircraft destroyed. He is halfway down the first row. The German flak gunners are in shock. Unteroffizier Klaus Weber mans a quad 20mm cannon on the eastern tower. He has been at this airfield for 8 months. He has never seen anything like this. He will write in his diary that night, "The American came so low I could see his face through the canopy. He was not looking at us. He was looking at our aircraft, like a butcher choosing meat." Weber's cannon fires 160 rounds. He sees tracers hit the P-47's tail. Sparks. But the American does not pull up. Another explosion. Another fighter gone. Weber counts 6 burning aircraft in the time it takes him to reload. He screams at his crew to traverse the gun. Track the American. Lead the target. Too late. The P-47 is already past his field of fire, moving to the second row. Weber will later testify that the entire first row was destroyed in less than 10 seconds. 8 fighters, 8 fireballs. The heat was so intense he felt it from 200 yards away. Johnson releases the trigger, lets the guns cool for 2 seconds, adjusts his aim. Second row, 8 Focke-Wulf 190As. Bigger targets, radial engines, more fuel. He squeezes the trigger again. The 50 caliber rounds hammer the first Focke-Wulf. The radial engine disintegrates. 14 cylinders shatter. Oil sprays. Then the wing tank explodes. The blast is bigger than the Messerschmitts. The Focke-Wulf has 240 gallons of fuel. It detonates like a bomb. The shockwave hits Johnson's P-47. The aircraft bucks, yaws hard left. He fights the stick, keeps it level, keeps firing. Second Focke-Wulf, third, fourth, all exploding. The flames spread to the fifth, then the sixth. Johnson's airspeed is now 420 miles per hour. The prop wash from his own aircraft fans the fires behind him. Black smoke towers into the sky. 13 aircraft destroyed. He still has 1,200 rounds remaining. Third row ahead. He will not stop until every gun is empty. On the ground, chaos. Lieutenant Ernst Hoffmann is a Luftwaffe pilot. He was in the operations shack when the attack started. He ran outside, saw the American P-47 tearing down the rows. He will write in his memoir, published in 1963, "I watched my fighter, a 109 I had flown for 40 missions, erupt in flames. The Americans' bullets turned it into scrap metal in 3 seconds. I felt like I was watching my own death." Hoffmann counted the explosions. He stopped at 15, too many to track. German ground crew are running for trenches. Some are firing rifles at the P-47. Pointless. The American is moving too fast. One mechanic, Obergefreiter Hans Schmidt, tries to reach a parked Messerschmitt. He wants to start the engine, take off, fight back. He makes it 10 feet before the P-47's bullets hit the aircraft. The explosion throws Schmidt 30 yards. He survives with burns over 40% of his body. He will tell interrogators 3 weeks later, "We were defenseless, like fish in a barrel." Johnson is now on the third row, his final pass. His ammunition counter shows 800 rounds remaining. More than enough. He lines up on the first fighter. Another Messerschmitt. Fires. The 50 caliber rounds shred the cockpit. The canopy shatters. Bullets punch through the fuselage, exit the other side, hit the fighter parked next to it. 2 for 1. Both aircraft explode simultaneously. The blast creates a secondary explosion in a nearby fuel truck. The truck's 2,000-gallon tank ignites. A mushroom cloud of fire rises 200 feet. Johnson banks slightly right, adjusts for the smoke, fires again. Fourth fighter in the third row, fifth, sixth. Each one takes less than a second to destroy. His bullet density is so high that every fighter absorbs at least 50 hits before exploding. He is at the end of the row now. Final 2 aircraft, a Messerschmitt and a Focke-Wulf parked side by side. He holds the trigger down, empties the remaining 400 rounds into both targets. They vanish in a single combined fireball. Total time on target, 47 seconds. Johnson pulls up, climbs to 500 feet, banks left, looks back. The entire airfield is an inferno. 23 aircraft burning, black smoke rising thousands of feet. Secondary explosions rippling across the field as ammunition cooks off. German flak is still firing, but wildly, panicked. Johnson is already out of range. His aircraft has taken 18 hits, holes in the tail, wing, fuselage, but nothing critical. All systems green. He sets course for home, throttles back to cruising speed, checks his fuel, 40 minutes to base. Behind him, the smoke column is visible for 50 miles. Allied bomber crews flying at 20,000 feet will report seeing it. They will radio ground control. Ask what happened. Ground control will not know. Not yet. Johnson will land at his home base at 10:15 hours, 52 minutes after takeoff. He will taxi to his hardstand, shut down the engine, climb out. His crew chief will count the bullet holes, the empty ammunition boxes, do the math. 23 confirmed kills in one mission, one pass, 47 seconds of firing. It is the highest single-mission ground kill count in 8th Air Force history. The Germans do not realize the full extent of the damage until noon. Major Heinrich Baer commands the fighter unit based at the Leipzig field. He is in Berlin when the attack happens. He receives a radio message at 1100 hours. The message is 3 words: field destroyed, all lost. Baer does not believe it. He flies to Leipzig in a Fieseler Storch observation plane, lands on a road 2 miles from the base, drives to the airfield. He will describe what he saw in a 1948 interview with American historians. "Nothing remained, just twisted metal and ash. I counted the wrecks. 23 fighters, my entire squadron, gone in minutes." Baer walks through the wreckage. Every aircraft is unsalvageable, engines melted, fuselages burned to frames, wings collapsed. His mechanics estimate repair costs. The conclusion: total loss, 15 million Reichsmarks. In April 1945, Germany does not have 15 million Reichsmarks. The squadron is disbanded 2 weeks later. The pilots are reassigned to infantry units. They will fight on the ground for the remainder of the war. The American military analyzes Johnson's gun camera footage that evening. The film shows every second of the attack: the approach, the firing passes, the explosions. Intelligence officers count the kills frame by frame. 23 confirmed, no probables, all destroyed completely. General Karl Spaatz, commander of United States Strategic Air Forces in Europe, views the footage personally. He orders copies made, distributed to every fighter group in the theater. The footage becomes a training film. Title: Effective Strafing Techniques. Pilots study Johnson's approach angle, his altitude, his firing discipline. Within 1 week, strafing missions across Germany increase by 300%. The results are catastrophic for the Luftwaffe. In the final 3 weeks of April 1945, American fighters destroy 1,200 German aircraft on the ground, more than the Luftwaffe loses in aerial combat for the entire month. Strafing becomes the primary method of air superiority, not dogfighting, not bombing, ground attack. Johnson's 47-second pass at Leipzig proves the concept. The technical breakdown reveals why the attack was so effective. Ballistics experts analyze the gun camera footage. They calculate bullet trajectory, impact angles, dispersion patterns. At 15 feet altitude and 400 miles per hour, Johnson's bullets hit at nearly perpendicular angles. No deflection, no ricochet. Pure kinetic energy transferred directly into target structures. The .50 caliber rounds penetrate aircraft aluminum skin like tissue paper. Each bullet creates a hole 1 inch in diameter. 50 hits create 50 holes. The fuselage becomes a sieve, but it is the incendiary rounds that do the real damage. Every 5th round in Johnson's ammunition belts is incendiary. Out of 3,000 rounds fired, 600 are magnesium-tipped. Magnesium burns at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Aviation fuel ignites at 450 degrees. The margin is not close. Each incendiary hit guarantees ignition. With 25 incendiary rounds per aircraft, ignition is instantaneous. The Germans never had a chance to fight the fires. By the time ground crew grabbed extinguishers, the aircraft were already engulfed. Johnson's ammunition expenditure is studied in detail. 3,000 rounds fired, 47 seconds of trigger time. That is 63.8 rounds per second, slightly below the theoretical maximum of 106.7 rounds per second for 8 guns. The difference is firing discipline. Johnson fired in controlled bursts, not continuous streams. Bursts allow barrels to cool, prevent jams, maintain accuracy. His hit percentage is calculated at 72%. Out of 3,000 rounds, 2,160 hit targets. The remaining 840 missed or hit ground. 72% is exceptional. Average strafing hit percentage is 45%. The reason? Range discipline. Johnson opened fire at 1,000 feet, closed to 200 feet before passing over targets. At that range, missing is almost impossible. Standard doctrine called for opening fire at 1,500 feet. Johnson ignored doctrine, flew closer. accepted higher risk from ground fire. It paid off. 23 kills, 18 hits to his own aircraft, survivable damage, risk versus reward. Johnson chose correctly. The German flak defense is analyzed post-war. 6 quad 20mm towers, 24 barrels total. Rate of fire, 480 rounds per minute per barrel. Combined rate, 11,520 rounds per minute. In the 47 seconds Johnson was over the field, the flak guns fired approximately 9,000 rounds. Only 18 hit. Hit percentage, 0.2%. The reason, traverse speed. The quad 20mm mount can rotate 15 degrees per second. At 400 miles per hour, Johnson crossed the field in 8 seconds. The guns could not track him fast enough. Flak gunner Klaus Weber's testimony confirms this. We aimed where he was, not where he would be. By the time we fired, he was already past our aim point. We were always shooting behind him. The only hits Johnson took were from guns positioned ahead of his flight path. Those gunners aimed at empty air, waited for him to fly into their fire stream, a tactic called leading the target. It works on bombers flying straight and level at 200 miles per hour. It does not work on fighters at 400 miles per hour and 15 feet altitude. The margin of error is too small. The psychological impact on German pilots is immediate. After Leipzig, Luftwaffe fighter pilots refuse to park aircraft in rows. They demand dispersed parking, wide spacing, camouflage nets, decoys. But Germany is running out of airfields. Space is limited. Dispersion is impossible. Oberst Johannes Steinhoff, a Luftwaffe ace with 176 kills, writes in his diary on April 21st, "We are being destroyed on the ground faster than we can replace aircraft. Every morning we check the flight line, count the losses. Yesterday, 14 fighters burned. Today, 9. Tomorrow, who knows? We cannot fight an enemy we cannot see until he is shooting." Morale collapses. Pilots volunteer for ground combat units. Anything to avoid sitting in a parked fighter waiting to be strafed. By the end of April, the Luftwaffe has more pilots than aircraft. Not because pilots are graduating training faster, because aircraft are being destroyed faster than they can be built. Leipzig is one example, but it is happening everywhere, every day, all across Germany. The Luftwaffe stops being an air force. It becomes a target. Johnson's mission profile becomes standard operating procedure. Fighter groups across the 8th Air Force adopt his tactics. Low altitude, high speed, close range, short bursts. Within 3 days of Leipzig, another P-47 pilot destroys 19 fighters in a single pass at an airfield near Munich. 5 days later, a P-51 pilot gets 21 near Frankfurt. The numbers accumulate. In the last 2 weeks of April 1945, American strafing runs destroy more German aircraft than the Luftwaffe has operational pilots to fly. The ratio becomes absurd. On April 25th, intelligence reports the Luftwaffe has 1,400 aircraft remaining in Germany, but only 350 pilots qualified to fly them. By April 30th, the numbers flip. 400 aircraft, 1,000 pilots. The aircraft are gone, burned on airfields, strafed by P-47s and P-51s flying missions like Johnson's. The war in the air is over, not because Germany ran out of will, but because they ran out of airplanes, and it started with 47 seconds at Leipzig. The ammunition mathematics reveal the economic calculation. Johnson's 3,000 rounds cost the U.S. Army $600. The P-47's fuel for the mission, 75 gallons at 40 cents per gallon, $30. Maintenance and operational costs, estimated $200. Total American cost for the mission, $830. 23 destroyed German fighters. Average cost per Messerschmitt 109, $70,000. Average cost per Focke-Wulf 190, $85,000. Total German losses, approximately $1.7 million. Return on investment, 2,000 to 1. But the real cost is not financial, it is operational. Those 23 fighters represented 3 weeks of German production. 3 weeks the Luftwaffe could not replace because Allied bombing had destroyed most aircraft factories. Those 23 pilots were reassigned to ground units, lost their flight status, never flew combat again. That airfield was abandoned, the craters never filled, the wrecks never cleared. $830. 1 mission, 1 pilot, 1 minute. The arithmetic of destruction. Johnson receives the Distinguished Flying Cross on May 3, 1945. The ceremony is brief. His squadron commander pins the medal, shakes his hand. The entire event takes 4 minutes. Johnson does not make a speech. He does not celebrate. He goes back to his barracks, writes a letter to his mother in Nebraska. The letter is saved, archived, released in 1997. It reads, "We are winning, but not the way they show in the movies. We are burning them on the ground, like shooting animals in a pen. It is necessary, but I do not feel proud." He flies 16 more missions before Germany surrenders on May 8th. He strafes 3 more airfields, destroys 11 more aircraft, but Leipzig remains his record, 23 in 1 pass, unsurpassed. After the war, Johnson returns to Nebraska, works as a crop duster, flies agriculture missions, never talks about the war. He dies in 1993, age 71, heart attack. His obituary mentions he was a World War II fighter pilot, does not mention Leipzig, does not mention the 23 kills. His family donates his flight logs and medals to the National Museum of the United States Air Force. They are displayed in the World War II Gallery, Cabinet 47, Section 12. Most visitors walk past without noticing. The Leipzig airfield is abandoned after the war. Soviet forces occupy the area in June 1945. They survey the wreckage, count 21 burned aircraft. 2 have been dragged away by Germans before the Soviets arrived. The Soviets leave the wrecks in place, use the field as a supply depot, then abandon it in 1947. By 1950, the field is overgrown. Grass covers the blast craters. Trees grow through fuselages. In 1992, after German reunification, a local history group excavates the site. They find remnants of 14 aircraft, scattered parts, melted aluminum, twisted steel. They also find bullet casings, hundreds of them, 50 caliber shells, American-made. The casings are analyzed. Head stamps match production batches from March 1945. Lake City Army Ammunition Plant, Missouri. The same ammunition Johnson fired. The excavation team creates a small memorial, a plaque. It reads, "Here stood Luftwaffe Fighter Base Leipzig Ost, destroyed April 16, 1945, 23 aircraft lost. Crew, 8 killed, 14 wounded." The plaque does not mention Robert Johnson by name. It does not mention it was 1 pilot, 1 aircraft, 47 seconds, just destroyed. The broader strategic impact unfolds over weeks. After Leipzig, the 8th Air Force intensifies strafing operations. Every fighter mission includes ground attack as primary objective. Aerial combat becomes secondary. German airfields become graveyards. In the last 3 weeks of April, American fighters destroy 2,100 aircraft on the ground across Germany. The Luftwaffe responds by dispersing aircraft into forests, parking them under trees, camouflaging them with nets and branches. It does not work. American pilots follow vehicle tracks, spot wheel ruts in mud, find the hidden fields. On April 27th, a P-51 pilot named Lieutenant James Howard finds 68 fighters hidden in a forest near Salzburg. He radios for support. 8 more P-51s arrive. They strafe the forest for 20 minutes, destroy all 68 aircraft. The trees provide no protection. 50 caliber rounds punch through branches like they are not there. Howard's mission report echoes Johnson's. Like target practice, they could not move, could not hide, could not fight back. The pattern repeats. Every day, all across Germany. By May 1st, the Luftwaffe stops trying to protect parked aircraft. They park them in the open, hope for the best. There is no best. The human cost on the German side is documented in post-war interviews. Ground crew casualties from strafing attacks, estimated 3,000 killed, 8,000 wounded, between April 1st and May 8th, 1945. Most deaths occur during attacks like Leipzig, men running for cover, men trying to fight fires, men attempting to move aircraft to safety. Unteroffizier Klaus Weber, the flak gunner, survives the war. He is interviewed in 1972. He describes the moment Johnson's attack ended. The noise stopped, suddenly, like someone turned off a machine. Then we heard the secondary explosions, ammunition cooking off, fuel tanks rupturing. We climbed down from the tower, walked to the field, bodies everywhere. My crew chief was dead, killed by shrapnel from a 109 that exploded. He was trying to drag a pilot out of a cockpit when it blew. Weber counts 12 dead ground crew at Leipzig, 19 wounded. The pilots escaped. They were in bunkers, survived. But the mechanics, the armorers, the refuelers, they were exposed. Trying to save aircraft, trying to do their jobs, they paid the price. The Leipzig attack appears in Luftwaffe command briefings within 24 hours. Reichsmarschall Hermann Göring, commander of the Luftwaffe, receives the report on April 17th. His response is recorded by his aide, Oberst Bernd von Brauchitsch. Göring's words, "One American destroys 23 fighters in less than 1 minute. How is this possible? We have flak, we have guns, we have men, and yet we are defenseless. Explain this to me." No one can explain it. The mathematics do not lie. American fighters are faster, better armed, and flown by pilots with superior training and unlimited ammunition. Göring issues an order. All remaining aircraft must be evacuated to airfields outside American fighter range. The order is impossible to execute. There are no airfields outside American range. P-47s and P-51s can reach any point in Germany. The order is ignored. Aircraft remain where they are. On April 20th, Adolf Hitler's birthday, Göring visits an airfield near Berlin. He expects a display of air power, a formation of fighters. There are 6 operational aircraft. The rest were destroyed by strafing. Göring leaves without speaking. He resigns as Luftwaffe commander 3 days later. American intelligence tracks the collapse in real time. Daily reconnaissance flights photograph every major airfield in Germany. Analysts count wrecks, map destruction patterns. On April 10th, before Leipzig, the Luftwaffe has an estimated 2,300 operational aircraft. On April 20th, 10 days after Leipzig, the number drops to 900. On April 30th, it drops to 200. In 20 days, the Luftwaffe loses 90% of its strength, not to aerial combat, to ground attack. The intelligence reports use clinical language, terms like attrition rate, target density, destruction efficiency. But the reality is simpler. American pilots are hunting parked aircraft, finding them, burning them. Missions like Johnson's at Leipzig prove it works, prove it is repeatable, prove it wins wars. By May 1st, Luftwaffe High Command stops issuing sortie orders. There are no aircraft to fly, no fuel to burn, no point in trying. The air war in Europe ends not with a final dogfight, but with empty airfields and burned wrecks. Johnson's 47 seconds at Leipzig is the template. The post-war analysis quantifies what 1 minute of combat achieved. 23 aircraft destroyed. Value, $1.7 million. 12 German ground crew killed, 19 wounded. Operational capacity of 1 fighter squadron eliminated. 1 American aircraft damaged, 18 bullet holes. Repaired in 6 hours. Pilot uninjured. Total American casualties, 0. The efficiency is staggering. Military historians compare it to the most lopsided battles in history. It ranks with Agincourt, with Cannae, with Midway. But those battles lasted hours, involved thousands of men, required complex strategy. Leipzig lasted 47 seconds. 1 man, 1 aircraft. The lesson is clear. In mechanized warfare, the concentration of firepower matters more than numbers. Speed matters more than armor. Surprise matters more than strength. Johnson proved all 3 at Leipzig. High-speed approach, concentrated 8-gun firepower, complete surprise. Result, total annihilation of enemy force. The formula is studied at military academies for decades. The ratio becomes a benchmark. The mission becomes legend. 47 seconds that changed air warfare. The Leipzig field today is farmland. After the Soviet withdrawal in 1994, the German government returns the land to private ownership. A farmer named Klaus Richter buys it. Richter knows the history. His grandfather was a mechanic at the field, survived the attack, told him stories. Richter plows the field every spring. Every year he finds something: shell casings, aluminum fragments, pieces of engines. In 2007, he finds a P-47 gun barrel, corroded, half buried. He donates it to a local museum. The museum displays it with a placard. Fragment from American strafing attack, April 16, 1945. Visitors sometimes ask which pilot flew the mission. The museum staff does not know. The records are not specific enough. They know it was a P-47. They know it was 8th Air Force. They know 23 aircraft burned. But the pilot's name is missing from German records. American records have it. Robert Johnson, serial number 1837950. 8th Air Force, 56th Fighter Group, 63rd Fighter Squadron. But the connection is never made. The gun barrel in the museum and Johnson's name in American archives remain separate pieces of history. The surviving German pilots from Leipzig scatter after the war. Lieutenant Ernst Hoffmann, who watched his fighter burn, emigrates to Argentina in 1947. He becomes a flight instructor, teaches civilian pilots, never flies military aircraft again. Before he dies in 1998, he writes a memoir. Chapter 7 is titled "The Day the Sky Burned." He describes the Leipzig attack in detail. His final paragraph: "I have thought about that American pilot many times, wondered who he was, wondered if he knew what he did to us, not just destroying aircraft, destroying our will. We knew after that day we could not win. How do you fight an enemy who can burn 23 fighters in 1 minute and fly away untouched? You cannot. You surrender," which is what we did 3 weeks later. Hoffmann's memoir is published in German, never translated, sells 3,000 copies. Robert Johnson's name does not appear in it. Hoffmann never learned who the pilot was. 2 men, same battle, same moment, never knew each other. The legacy of strafing missions like Leipzig is mixed. On one hand, they accelerated Germany's defeat, destroyed the Luftwaffe, saved Allied bomber crews from fighter attacks, shortened the war. On the other hand, they killed thousands of ground crew, men who were not combatants, mechanics, refuelers, teenagers drafted into service. The ethics are debated. Some historians argue strafing was necessary. Total war demands total methods. Others argue it crossed a line. attacking men who could not fight back, burning aircraft that posed no threat. Johnson himself never resolved the question. His letter to his mother suggests ambivalence, necessary but not proud. The American military does not share his doubt. Strafing becomes standard doctrine, used in Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. The tactic Johnson perfected at Leipzig in 1945 is still taught at Air Force Weapons School today. 1 minute, 23 kills, 0 friendly casualties. The numbers speak for themselves. On April 16, 2025, the 80th anniversary of the Leipzig attack, a German aviation history group organizes a commemoration. They erect a marker at the former airfield. It lists the names of the 12 ground crew killed, the names of the pilots whose aircraft burned. They do not list Robert Johnson's name, but they acknowledge the attack, the date, the result. An American delegation attends. Descendants of 8th Air Force veterans. They bring a wreath, place it at the memorial. One of them is Robert Johnson's grandson. He is 62 years old. He carries his grandfather's flight log. He reads aloud the entry for April 16, 1945. Mission 73, Leipzig area, strafing, 23 destroyed, damage minor, returned to base. 31 words. That is how Johnson recorded the mission that became legend. The German and American delegations stand together, silent, remembering different sides of the same minute. 8 decades later, the history is shared, the memory preserved. 47 seconds that neither side forgets. 1 aircraft, 8 guns, 3,000 rounds, 47 seconds. 23 German fighters destroyed, the highest single-mission ground kill count in 8th Air Force history. 1 minute that proved strafing could win wars. Robert Johnson flew 87 combat missions, shot down 3 fighters in aerial combat, destroyed 34 aircraft on the ground. But Leipzig was the mission that mattered. Not because it was heroic, not because it was fair, but because it was effective. And in April 1945, effectiveness was the only thing that counted. The Luftwaffe never recovered from missions like Johnson's. The war ended 3 weeks later. 47 seconds. That is how long it takes to change history.